Hi everybody, I am so happy to be talking with you today. All month at our church we've started a dialogue on the theme, Be Real because Fake is Exhausting. And this is actually something that really matters to us here at Tempaway. And so I really would like to take the next few minutes to hang out with you as we share our vision. When I first saw custard, I remember standing in the buffet and being dazzled by this yellow thing. In the buffet tray, there was a section with vegetables and chicken and pies, and then there was custard and cake and so on. And so, not knowing what the whole thing was about, I was really liberal and I poured a big portion over my plate and created a little hole in the mashed potatoes and drizzled some over the broccoli. And sure enough, I quickly discovered that broccoli, chicken, mashed potatoes and custard was easily the most disgusting thing I have ever tasted. And sadly, this is what Christianity feels like to a lot of people. It looks so good on its own merits, but when you mix it up with all the different bits like the building, the people, theology, it's often a right mess in a smelly broccoli custard sort of way. And because of that, people are really struggling to take Christianity seriously. And this isn't even a new thing. When I was younger, my aunt always told me this joke about what she thought about us when we went to church. And so she said, I always imagined that you guys were a bit strange, returning home after church and drawing your curtains, and she thought we sat in a dark room wearing black, levitating. And I kind of understand why she thought that way, because truly we were in a world of our own, and everything about what we did basically shouted out to people, we just love it here and we need you to stay over there. And there was always real tension. There was this unwritten code that as Christians we needed to keep our space safe, uncontaminated, and separate from the disease called real people. And so a lot of our time was spent filling our calendars with activities that were meant to keep us together. A lot of time was spent on activities that chained us to church. I only experienced Christian kids and I didn't really know anything about the world out there. And naturally life was rather artificial, because let's face it, out there looks nothing like here in my Christian bubble. And some of you are already starting to get worried. Well, what is he saying? What is he trying to say? This is really a story not about you. It's not even my story, but this is Jesus' story. Mark 2:13-17, it says this. Jesus went out again beside the sea, and a crowd gathered around him, and he taught them. And as he was walking along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in Levi's house, many tax collectors and others with bad reputations were also sitting with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the religious leaders and teachers saw that he was eating with such bad people, they said to the disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and people of bad reputation?" When Jesus heard this, he said to them, "It is the sick people who need a doctor, not those who are healthy. I did not come to invite the spiritually fit, but the sin sick." This text always makes me laugh because Jesus knew how to throw it down. In Mark 2, we are introduced to this person called Levi, and in other books of the Bible, he is described by a name you might know better as Matthew. And so Matthew was this man who worked for the Roman government, collecting taxes. And what we also understand about Matthew was that his job gave him a really cushy lifestyle. Nobles or knights would bid to collect taxes for the Roman government, and then they would hire local people like Matthew to do the collecting of taxes. So as long as Rome got their cut, that was all that mattered. In true businessman fashion, Matthew would charge a little something on top of the taxes, and so he would pay Rome their share and then keep the rest for himself. Even worse was that these tax collectors worked for Rome. Matthew was a local guy, he was a bro. And so Matthew was the neighbor who was robbing his friends to send money to the very government who was only interested in building weapons of mass destruction. And then the story gets really interesting. In Luke 5, verse 29, it says, "Then Levi, or Matthew, gave a large dinner for Jesus at his house, and everybody was there. Taxmen and other shady characters sitting at the table with them. And the religious leaders and scholars came to the disciples of Jesus saying, 'Well, what is he doing, eating and drinking with crooks and sinners?'" When you look at the text very closely, you realize that Jesus isn't just sitting, but the Bible uses a word, and in Greek it says katakemai. And katakemai means to recline or lie down. And so Jesus is basically having a post-Nando's moment. For those who don't know, Nando's is a very popular restaurant here in the UK. He's just there having a meal, and he's not only having a meal, he's staying for the afters. And the Bible tells us that Jesus was doing this type of stuff so often that religious leaders gave him a nickname, Friend of Sinners. When I was younger, I really loved to laugh, but in junior secondary school, that became a problem, and I got a nickname that was a bit difficult to handle at first. So my name is Joel Dunton. Basically, when I laugh, my top lip would sort of stretch all the way sort of under my nose like a horse, literally. So, it would be like out there sort of thing. And so I got the unfortunate nickname of Gumtin, because my gums was like, in your face. And that wasn't going down very well for my self-esteem, so I had to nip that in the bud, so there was no way that a man was going into adulthood with that sort of baggage. And so today, when I smile, it's contained, it's just a crack like that. That's all. But I think the point is, I really wish that, I had a decent nickname, something that tells volumes about my love for him and the others who are around me. Sometimes when I read the scriptures, I'm really astonished by the clarity that Jesus had. And before Matthew met Jesus, he never had that chance. The religious leaders of the time had devoted their lives to God and religion. They never missed a service. They attended all the prayer meetings. They only ate certain types of food, and they set times each day for prayer, and they saw themselves as God's chosen people. And so for someone like Matthew, they would say, "Matthew, in order for you to get here, you need to go through 1,000,000 tolls. Matthew, what you're wearing needs to go. Matthew, you need to get rid of that orange hair, Matthew." I really love this community that we're building. I love what we're trying to do, but it's not easy. I believe that real church isn't about what happens in a building somewhere, but it goes beyond that. And that real church calls us to actively pursue intimacy. Real church calls us to recline and celebrate the life and joy that comes from deciding to follow Jesus. We need to be living our stories in a tangible way, like being good neighbors and embracing Jesus' teachings about the poor, the hurting, and those who are the others. So today, I want you to spread rumors of this tension. And don't think about it too much, because really we need to get over ourselves so people can see Jesus. And this community needs you. People need you. And for those out there who are creating this tension, we salute you. Because if this tension doesn't exist, then we're not doing this Christianity thing right. We simply need to let people know that the call is out there, that Jesus is out there, and that there is still hope.